Hello and welcome to the Powerful African Women podcast.
The podcast will empower the power in you.
I'm Aissatou
And I am Sarah.
and welcome to a new episode of our Power series.
Yes. Okay. Hi Aissatou. How have you been since last time we talked?
I'm good. So, as you know, I still have the COVID. So,
Yeah.
I still have, that little bit of sickness. But apart from that, I'm really good. I'm getting better.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm still in Senegal, which is a very good news.
I know I'm actually jealous, but hopefully soon, eventually
good.
I'll come. But I'm happy that you're doing well despite the
We'll wait for
COVID.
you. Yes,
Exactly.
I'm actually starting my new job tomorrow, so I'm really
That's
excited about
exciting.
that one.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm
so I'm
happy.
good. And you, Saron,
I'm
how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good, Same old, happy, healthy, trying to stay healthy. I don't have new resolutions for this year, especially whenever it comes to the gym, because I just follow my own schedule. As always, I'm a rebel, but I'm happy with whatever is happening now. So it's a good,
It's the most
it's a good
important
feeling.
feeling.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I don't have fireside chats, right? But I just want to ask
okay.
you a question. So the question will be, so like, what type of friends do you have? Do you have okay, toi de un. What, like, how would you say you behave around your friends, right? The like depending on, I guess, the nationality or depending on the race.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I know I'm someone who would, adapt what I say, the way I act according to the group of friends I'm with.
Yeah.
It's just, related to the fact that I've moved a lot when I was young. So I needed to adapt to each country, to each group. So I'm someone who have a very diverse type of friends. So I have very different friends with different things I'm doing with them. So I will act very differently based on the group I'm with.
Okay. And okay, can you give me examples of how you behave with your, let's say, African or Black friends versus how you behave with like your Western friends?
Yeah. So with my African friends, I would just behave a lot like, trying to remind ourselves of what it was, back home, having more, like crazy,
Yeah, you feel more free.
jokes. Yeah, I will feel more free, but also, with even with my white friends or I don't know, French friends, I have a very good French one. I can actually talk about some stuff, but it's just that to relate, to those kind of feeling, like some stuff is just, with your girl pal from home.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or with you.
Right. So again, I feel like most of my topics come from shows that I'm watching, right? And I came upon this topic lately and I was like, wow, it's a good one to talk about. And it's called code switching. So what you are talking about right now, that you're behaving differently based on who you are, like, or not who you with, depending on the race and where they're from, it's called code switching, right?
Okay.
So like for me personally, my mannerism, so the way I behave, it depends also from people to people. Like it changes from people to people, right? Like I feel like whenever I'm in the company of my friends and like you mentioned, like my Ivorian friends or like my Gabonese friends, I feel much more free. But when I am with the company of, I won't say necessarily white, but even just like people from a different background than me, I have to kind of remind myself, right, that like I have to readjust my behavior for me to be feeling accepted.
Yes.
Right. And so I think like those kind of things, it happens a lot professionally. And I can kind of give my example, right? Because I was lucky to work in Africa for a little bit. And there, I had no pressure to be anything but myself, right? With my managers, with my coworkers, just because we come from the same area, so we understand each other's jokes, right? Like there's some
Yes.
stuff you would do that here they will find offensive, or they'll find like rude. Whereas there it's just like, hey, we joking.
Yeah, you always have to be careful not to hurt some feelings when you are here compared to
Exactly, right? And now that I moved back in the US, do I feel like I'm behaving differently? Maybe. Again, just because I had to readjust. And I'm bringing this topic just because I remember I had this discussion with one of my best friends in France, and she was telling me how, like, even to get a job or to get an apartment, you have to sound a certain way on the phone.
Yes.
You have to sound white
Yes.
because as soon as they discover that you African, and let's be honest, that you black, it's a little tougher on you to achieve
even
your
for
goals.
job interviews.
Exactly,
For
right?
job interviews, you need to act, even if you know you need to act a certain way that is acceptable to them.
Yep.
To feel included. Otherwise, you'll be just treated like as an outsider.
As an outsider, and unfairly, let's just put it that way, right? So again, like I said, this behavior, this switch of behavior, it's called code switching. And unfortunately, it has been like a way for Black people to be able to survive and succeed in professional environments.
Yes.
Right? So what is code switching? It involves like a change of speech, of appearance, of behaviors that will optimize the comforts of others in exchange of fair treatment. And I think that is what we need to emphasize. It's fair treatment. Right? So for people to accept you, you have to behave a certain way, because the way you behave as an individual is not enough for them. And there is an issue with that. Right? Studies, actually, I said to you do your study, I do my study too. I'm just telling you.
Yes.
So studies have actually
the
shown
perfect women.
We're getting facts. Yeah, so studies have actually shown that, a lot of Black and Hispanic women feel the need to change, the way they express themselves around people and around other ethnicities, especially around white Americans.
You can put white French also.
And white French. So basically just right. And again, it's a means of survival. Like, it's not something that we do just because we want to behave differently and forget about ourselves, but it's a means of survival, because that's how they feel like they can only succeed. Right? So what are, again, like, we kind of go ahead.
I would just say that I think it's not even, I mean, it's sure that it is for Black women or women of diverse group, but I think it's just for everyone, If I think, even if I put myself, for instance, as a white girl, with what you call your colleagues, at work, you might call them your friends, from work, but you won't act the same way with them than with the people you grow with, the people you've known since you were a child.
No, true, right? Again, like, code switching can be different, but I'm talking more on, again, professional occasions, on what we observe, like what Black women have to go through more, and not even Black women, I've said Black people in general, and Hispanic, and just minorities, right? Again, like, switching, we do that on a daily basis. The way you behave with your parents is not the way you behave with your friends, right? There is also that little code switching, right? But we're talking more on a professional setting, what you have to go through to be accepted at the same level as another individual who is not the same race as you.
Okay, understood.
And who is, considered, who is white, basically, right? Let's just put it that way. So, the reasons. that people usually do that. So Black people or minority people do that. I'm going to break it down in like 3 reasons. So the first one is just leadership aspiration. Oh my gosh, I'm so bad today. It's leadership aspiration. I hope that's how you say it, because now it makes me feel so weird. Anyways, I don't know how to say that.
English is your language. French is mine.
That's why. But English, I mean, what you're trying to do is you are looking to advance your career. Let me put it that way, right? And studies again are shown that Black employees with higher career aspirations for leadership and promotion opportunities feel like they have to avoid conforming to the Black stereotypes, and to a higher degree, right, than anybody with lower career aspirations. So that means they have to modify their behavior slightly to be able to fit in what is considered to be a leader, or what is considered to be somebody who is worthy of a promotion. And I'm taking that example, especially like right now, because it's so relevant in terms of, I don't know if you remember the Black Lives movements that happened like a year and 2 years ago. During that movement, suddenly all companies hired a diversity and inclusion. In the US.
In the US.
I mean, because in France there was nothing. We're talking about, in the US.
Okay.
And you could see that obviously again there's an issue, right? In terms of you had to wait for such a big problem to occur, the death of someone, for people to come and actually show their true selves and be like, we have to go through that many extent for people to just recognize us as individuals. And now hiring like a diversity person just to make to take care, I guess of diversity hires and to maybe relate to them more, right? So it's a big issue, basically, of you having to readjust yourself, to retune yourself, to maybe hide a little bit of your personality just so that you could fit in an environment where other people don't have to do that. A second reason is just vigilance. And so high levels of vigilance behaviors were also like associated with code switching at work, right? So one Black man described his vigilance about race as like he's always constantly in the magnifying glass. And as well to you, I feel like
you are observed.
Yeah.
All the time.
You are observed
everything you do
all the time. Like, and being the only Black woman in the office, it's not funny.
I know. I'm gonna be in the same case soon. So
it's like, and it's again like there's a progress to be made. I don't necessarily hold the managers like guilty, for doing stuff that they just do it subconsciously. But I just feel like being aware, the same way we have to be aware of where we are, they also need to be aware of the cultural differences and then just the behavior differences. Like your capacities shouldn't be associated with, I guess, your, like, the way you behave, if it makes sense. Or there's no only one way, like there's no only one feature of what a successful person should behave like or look like. And I feel like like us doing this code switching, it's really just because we want to fit into that box that people have defined to be the only, you know what I mean, like the only way you could be able to succeed box. So another one is to fit in beyond, I guess, the race. And that means it's kind of like you have to create activities. So it's not only like behaviors, but you have to create activities that your white peers like, to be able to be like, oh, I fit into their circle. And we can take an example, golf. I'm sorry, golf is fun, but I feel like originally Black people do that just to be able to be like this is
Okay, okay.
an activity. No, it's
I'm going to give you an anecdote, girl. It's so funny that you talked about it. You know, I told you I started tennis, right?
yeah.
Do you know why I started tennis at the first, like at the beginning?
Please tell me, enlighten me.
All right, so we were actually talking with my brothers, who is basically doing the same thing I'm doing, and we were like, you know, we need to have a sport we can practice, you know, professionally, you know, with your colleagues and all. So there is tennis and there is golf. So that's how I started wanting to play tennis. Now I'm just loving it, but it's just at the
Me
beginning
too.
I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I need that to be able to, you know,
to relate.
to relate to them and be
Yep.
accepted and be like them. So that's why I started tennis.
You see, and I mean, thank you for telling me that. Me personally, I started tennis just out of fun because I felt like I always wanted to play tennis.
Now it's
you
just
know?
fun.
Yeah. With me and the golf, I realized that like I've never taken it, but I explored taking it just because I knew it would maybe be a topic that, you know, like that would make me feel more included with my coworkers and my supervisors, right? We do it just again to be included. And I just wonder one day if one of my white supervisors is going to be like, hey, do you want to go do some Afrobeats dancing?
Why
you know?
did we have
and
the
then be
exact
like,
same
oh,
idea, you know?
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, so what if one day, or maybe I see his hobbies and then I see Afrobeats dancing just because he has a black employee, I'll be feeling some type of way positively.
Yes.
I'm gonna be like, oh wow, actually, you know, like he has an open mind.
Yeah.
And I feel like us having to conform to what is acceptable even as activities, like even yoga beginning, I thought it was a white people thing. That's why I didn't get into that, right?
Yeah.
But then my sister forced me just because I was going through some stuff, and then it actually was the best thing that ever happened to me, you know? But if I put it into my resume as hobbies, people are going to be, oh my gosh, you do yoga. And it's going to be a topic.
And
but
I actually think that we also do that, especially Black people or even us African people, because we feel like we are coming into a culture. So we have to get, you know, accepted into that culture. So we need to try to be the one making the effort. But what is true is that whenever they are the one like coming into our culture, they don't have, you know, that pressure to get into, you know, our way of living. And that's why it's hard for us, is that we have the feeling that we need to do it if we want to get accepted into their society. But it's actually our society. Yeah.
I know. And if you see, you know, even in sometimes in, I mean, not even sometimes in companies, whenever you look at their purpose, everybody is always like, oh, we value diversity, we value this and that. But whenever you go through interviews or you see even, you know, people like being, like the way they behave in those workplaces, you can still feel like the standard of what is acceptable has to be fitting into that standard of being more of a white person. Unfortunately. But anyways, that was a long tangent into that. Now, what are the repercussions of code switching? One thing for Black and African, you might be called a bounty, a bounty, a coconut, or a white person.
Or a tubab.
Right?
Add that one.
Or a tubab, you know? Like, yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't even know what else to add on that. You might be called a tubab, and just, again, understand that that's just one repercussion. It's not always bad. Again, just because that's what sometimes you have to do to be able to reach certain ideals, just know that it might come at a price, right? I wanted to kind of add another aspect really quick, and you talked about it before, right? It's in the social aspect, because we kind of focus only on the professional aspect, but socially as well, you know, like there's also some alterations of behaviors that happen between group of friends, or even something that I wanted to emphasize in is even in like in relationships, you know, like sometimes whenever you go from boyfriend, girlfriend to husband and wife, suddenly there's a different behavior expectations that is happening, you know. So there's also that code switching that is happening that you have to be mindful of, and you have to be like you have to be careful.
Yeah.
Basically, me, I don't know if I'd ever be able to call my husband. I'm just gonna call him my boo all the time, just so that we don't code switch. I hope you don't mind.
I'm okay.
If you do,
if you hear it,
you won't mind. I'm sorry. Anyway, so how can you address the problem really quick? Like, it's not always necessarily a bad thing, right? Code switching is not a bad thing, but like it can have serious consequences when it affects your behavior, the person that you are, like in general, right? I personally don't feel the pressure to always code switch, just because I'm very comfortable with the way that I am. I feel like with my coworkers, there are some barriers that are put in place just because they are my coworkers, but I don't feel like I'm behaving differently just because they're in a different race, right? So I feel I'm pretty comfortable with it, and it's just because I'm comfortable with who I am. It took me a time, but it's just a key. Like, be comfortable with who you are, and then they hired you for your professional reasons, for your capacity, your intellectual capacity. So don't feel like you have to switch your whole personality to be able to be accepted. And if you do, it also shows about, you know, like the type of environment that you are in, and just reconsider if that's really what you want to do on the long term.
Yeah, but also I think that one advice also in the professional world is that you actually need to do that work. Yeah, I mean, you shouldn't behave with your friend the way you behave with your coworkers, and even show all aspects of your personality to your coworkers, because at the end of the day, they're still your coworkers, not your true friends.
Exactly.
So, but I think the difference is that whenever you think like that, being like, okay, I'm in a professional set, there is something I couldn't do, you're the one having the control over your action. However, what this episode was, I think, more stressing out is the fact that don't let them choose how you can act with them. Don't let them control your behavior, but keep the control to yourself. And I think that's the key.
Yeah. And that's what I said, right? It's like putting the barriers between your core, like, again, like you said, behaving with your coworkers and behaving with your friends is two different things, right? So making that difference is different than code switching and readjusting your whole behavior to be able to fit in an environment. And like you mentioned, this is what I wanted to stress out on. Like, it's okay to separate your personal life to your professional life, but just be mindful on and be careful on readjusting your whole personality, your behavior to fit in an ideal that is not you.
Yes.
Like, you're gonna lose yourself, and even mentally, like, it can be exhausting. Like, you have to put on a mask and then come home, remove that mask, to the point that at some point you might even forget who you really are, and that is gonna be the saddest thing ever. And that's really all I had to say on that topic. So thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much for this topic. I like it.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of related to our friendship, episode. It's like one other aspect of that episode, which I really like. It's a topic I love. So thank you for that one.
Yeah, me too.
Yes.
And I hope you guys enjoy it too. So yeah, we're just gonna wrap it up really quick as always. Follow us on social media. Let me know what you think.
Mostly
Instagram. Let us know what you thought about that topic. At Powerful African Woman, you can follow us there. Show us some love. Bring us topics that you want us to discuss. We'll take it.
We are still having guests. And if you want to be a guest, you can still contact us.
True. If you want. And what's in the meantime,
don't forget to bring out the power in you. Thank you. Bye bye.